Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Mommin'. We're so excited to be here with you today for episode 12. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
And we are thrilled to announce our guest today, Brittany Dixon. You might know her as the author and the woman behind the blog A Healthy Slice of Life. She offers resources on everything from recipes to parenting to homeschooling, which is a hot topic right now. So hopefully you find some tidbits there that are helpful. Her blog is a great resource. She is the mom of 2 girls, and she is just a really wonderful wealth of knowledge and such a positive person. We were really happy and excited to be able to speak with her.
Yeah, we had so much fun talking to her. She had really good tips about homeschooling or even doing little lessons at home if you're not full on homeschooling that were so helpful. She talked about her journey as a family deciding to homeschool and her blog, about her background as a health coach, and gave us a couple of healthy tips that work for her and her family. She also talked about what they call the state of the family. Her and her husband do a check-in. It's very detailed about their finances, and they actually have support. They have made Excel sheets and have a Facebook group to help support people who are interested in that, as well as their decision to have 2 children and how their passion for traveling was a big part of that decision. I feel like I learned so much from this episode. It made me feel a lot more comfortable about the little things I'm trying to teach my preschooler at our house right now.
Absolutely. I have been implementing her tip about using mealtime to teach every day, and it has been a total game changer. We hope you all enjoy this episode, and hopefully you find some tidbits that are really helpful for you and your family.
Yes, you can find us at momandpodcast.com, at Mom and Podcast on Instagram, and we also have a new Facebook group that you can find under Mom and Podcast. So come on over and check that out. If you have time, we would love it if you would share this with a friend and leave us a rating and review. Thanks so much for listening.
Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Mommin'.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're so thrilled. It's so funny to be able to talk to people that I've followed for years, and like I think I started reading your blog when you were pregnant with Haley.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, let's chat. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've got so many internet friends, so I love getting to meet people face to face and chat, and I'm just so happy to be here talking with you.
Thank you.
And this is Jessica and I'm Megan. I don't think we're so bad at we assume people know which is which, but they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So we usually get started with having our guests just tell us a little bit about themselves. So who you are, where you live, what you do for work, and about your family a little bit.
Sure. So my name is Brittany, and I've been married to my husband, David, for 11 years now. We have 2 little girls. Haley just turned 9 and Caitlin is 6. And it feels so strange to me to have the slightly older kids now. I feel like I always identified as a toddler mom for some reason. So this is a new stage for us. Yeah.
I could see that.
But we live in North Carolina. And for my personal background, I'm a former health coach. So for several years, I was doing health coaching, and that's when I actually started my blog. It was a common question of some of my clients of saying, all this stuff you're telling us to do, can you show me what it looks like in your life day to day? And so the original blog was very much just like a very day-to-day diary of what I was eating, how I was working out, and things like that. And then when I got pregnant with Haley, we decided that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, which was kind of a dream of mine. And I continued with the blog, and it's really grown since there. So I've been blogging for about 10 years. And it's gone from like a day-to-day diary into more of, I don't even know. I wouldn't even know what I call it. A lifestyle blog at this point: food, family, travel, homeschool. I kind of talk about it all. So that's my background in brief.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like it evolved so much from like a food diary to what it is now. So is that really what changed it, was the pregnancy piece of it?
I think I've just always written about whatever life stage I'm in. And so I have trouble sometimes explaining what I write about, because I feel like I write about every topic under the sun, just whatever's going on in my life at the moment. And that typically tends to revolve around food, family, homeschool, and then our travel too. So I try and keep to those categories.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, I cannot believe, because I said I've been reading it since Haley, you were pregnant with Haley. When you posted that she was 9, I was like, well, that can't be because I'm still 22.
I think I am too. I'm like, how did that happen?
This makes me feel really old.
You and me both. You and me both.
Yeah, that's so crazy. It feels like those years just fly by with these kids.
They do. I know. It's crazy. That's what I'm glad I've documented so much of it. It's fun to look back on, but it is crazy to. Haley looked at me when she turned 9 and she's like, this is my last year being a single digit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, don't say it like that. That's crazy.
Oh, that is. I can't imagine a 10-year-old.
Do they know what it means that you're a blogger? Like, do they know that they're online, or do they like to go and look at old posts or any of that because they can see it their whole life?
Yeah, they understand that mommy has a weird job. And so, especially as they've gotten older, they haven't really looked at old posts that much. But now that they're not babies and toddlers, I'm very hyper vigilant about what I share about them. And a lot of times, I'll ask them first, hey, this is a picture. Is it okay if I share it? Or I'm on Instagram stories a lot. And they understand that I'm talking to the friends in my phone. And so they'll either say, hey, take this to share this. I want to. But if there's ever a time they're like, I don't want you to share that, I'm becoming more and more absolutely listening to what their concerns are. But they think it's really neat. Haley wants her own blog. She picks up stuff sometimes, like pretending it's a phone, and this is weird. But, and talking to it and dictating what she's cooking and things like that. So they think it's really fun at this point.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Pretend to talk on her phone. Oh, how strange. And it's only a few years from now, she'll probably will be.
I know. I actually got her a URL and have thought about trying to teach her the basics of it for obviously a very private blog that my mom and my mother-in-law could read. But I think she'd really enjoy learning about it because she takes pictures of her food and all the weird stuff that a blogger kid does.
Well, that actually probably would be very helpful for a child to learn for when she's older.
That's true. To teach her the coding, she could probably code circles around me and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It'd actually be giving her a leg up.
Yeah.
That's true. I'll take her on staff.
Yeah. Is there anything you've read, or how do you decide? I think with older kids, it's so much harder. Are there certain things that have helped guide you in deciding what you will share, or is it kind of just as it comes up, you decide?
I pretty much use my own gut as a barometer for that. And again, like as they get older, even when I'm working on something, a post, and I have their picture on it, I always show them, this is going to be on here. Do you like this picture and things like this? Right now, they're still young enough, they don't really care. And they're like, yeah, do it. And again, they think it's so cool. But I definitely keep a pulse on that because I always want to make sure they're in agreement for being part of whatever I'm sharing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And they can always look back and recognize that you respected them enough from that young age. That's awesome.
I hope so.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Maybe not when they're 16, but
that's right.
So what for you has been sort of the most surprising part of being a parent?
I think the most surprising part for me is how much I like my kids. Like I knew since they were born, I loved them with everything I had. But I mean, having this little being that you're just obsessed with and taking care of, and it's so much just physical, mental work in the beginning. And then as they get bigger, they develop these personalities and they become little people with their own thoughts. And I just am taken aback by how much I enjoy being with them. Like they're just fun to be around. So I always knew I'd love them, but I'm surprised at how much I like them as well. Most days.
That's really cool.
Yes, it is. That's awesome.
Because you don't know what you're going to get. Like, you might have a kid that's obsessed with worms, which is fine, but it might not be things you want to talk about.
And my two are definitely night and day, and so they're very different in their likes and their personalities, but for most of the time, they're just fun to be with, and that surprises me, that I'm not always needing a break.
And do they get along well with each other?
Really, for the most part, they do. And that's one of my really big focuses. I don't know how much like I can take credit for on this. We certainly try to foster a positive sibling relationship, but they are little best friends. And it's one thing I'm super duper grateful for. I mean, they have their moments and they squabble and scream, of course, with the best of them. But for the most part, and I don't know if it's because we homeschool and especially during this pandemic year, we've had limited social interactions. So it's kind of like, hey, you play with her or you play on your own. And they figured out how to get along.
That's great, though, that they are friends. Is there anything you feel like you've done, or do you think it's, like you said, the homeschooling that's made them close?
I don't have anything to compare to, so I can't say for certain. But,
Mhm.
we try and just, let me see, what are some of the things that we've done to try and foster that? I think spending time together, I've had some friends that say like they feel like their kids need time apart, but I feel like being together more often has forced them to work through their communication or things like that and built new memories. A lot of their memories are tied together because they're together a lot. And I think they balance each other out well. Haley is my very cautious child, and Caitlin is my wild child. And my hope is that through all their years, they'll balance each other out, where Caitlin kind of pulls Haley out of her shell, and Haley keeps Caitlin somewhat safe. So I hope that continues. But I just think they're a good duo for that. So I think just making memories together, and that's what's made them close. I don't know. I just hope it sticks.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Fun. I like mine.
Mhm,
My sister.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That gives me happy hope for the future.
Yeah, I feel like we always got along mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's always stages, that,
Yeah.
but sometimes those bond you too, the hard seasons.
Right.
Yes,
It's a funny
yes.
memory to look
Yeah,
back
now
on
it
now.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you touched on homeschool a little bit, but I would love, especially now, it's so important that people are aware of tips and helpful things about homeschooling, but sort of your background on how you decided to do homeschool and if it was always a plan or if it was something that evolved, like what led to that?
It was definitely something that evolved, I guess. And Haley was born. I just planned on cherishing the 5 years that I'd have her at home before I'd send her off to kindergarten. And then as we were getting closer to that milestone, I think it was a coworker of David's that homeschooled his kids, and he brought that up as just kind of an interesting, hey, this is a neat topic. And we kind of laughed about it, like, oh, that'd be crazy. And then we started looking into it. We're like, well, wow, I mean, it does provide a lot of flexibility of schedule, which was a really important thing for us. I, again, like having my kids around, and so it would give me more time with them, which I was kind of intrigued by. At the same time, there was a charter school near us that you have to enter a lottery system. So I went to that open house and I loved that one. And we entered Haley into the lottery system. And I kind of just said, this will be our sign. If we get into this charter school, great, we'll go that route. And if we don't, then that'll be our decision that we'll homeschool. And so when we did the lottery, I actually at first thought she got in. And it sent me into a panic spiral because I was like, oh no, now I have to make a choice. And when I looked extra close, I realized, no, she's like number 380 on the wait list. I got things mixed up. And it was such a sign to me of, oh wow, when I thought she got in, I panicked rather than being excited. And it kind of showed me like, hey, I really do want to try this homeschooling route. And we decided we'll take it one year at a time. So we did kindergarten and her preschool year, last year of preschool, we kind of did dual enrollment. She was in preschool 3 days a week and home too. And I kind of considered that my dipping the toe in the water. And then for kindergarten, we went for it and we just haven't looked back. It's continued to work really well for us, despite every year looking a little bit differently. We really think the pros outweigh the cons, and we just reevaluate every year if we think it's working for us or not.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
huge.
I love that too. I feel like it's hard to make a choice that you're like, "Oh, that sounds crazy." When you guys said at first like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be something," and then to just go for it, and just try it.
It was nerve-wracking and exciting and everything all at once. I mean, every parent will tell you that you feel like this huge weight for every choice you make for your kids because you wonder, am I going to completely screw them up with this one decision? And so I figured we'll try kindergarten and see how it goes. Surely she can catch up if I completely fall flat. And I was super nervous. And I think the first mistake I made was trying to recreate the school environment at home. Like we're starting at 9 o'clock, be dressed and ready in this room. And I mean, I don't know. I think I rung a bell. I think I did something silly, just trying to like not screw it up. And it's such a funny memory to look back on now, because of course we've gotten more comfortable with it since then, but it was a scary jump off in the beginning to go that route.
Oh, I'm sure. Even just doing little lessons at home with my almost 4-year-old right now, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. When
That's
do we
totally
do
normal. So normal. Yes.
it?
Right. That's really amazing that, like she said, you decided to go for it and jumped in and just sort of went for it. I mean, do you think Haley recognized that you were like not like this wasn't your
Yes.
natural thing? Or okay. Like I only asked that because my daughter is clearly like, what are you doing? Because I'm like, okay, so we're gonna start here. And then, oh wait, we have to do this first.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, she kind of just looked at me like my whole energy would change. You know, I was just like, okay, now I'm putting on my teacher hat. And I think she thought I sounded kind of crazy, but we've gotten comfortable with over time that I really believe that homeschooling is just a natural extension of parenting. Same way you teach them to eat, you teach them to walk, you teach them to sing the alphabet. It's just that it's a natural extension. And now I'm more comfortable with it. But at first I definitely was like, okay, teacher hat. And she looked at me like I was a crazy person.
How do you structure it now then? Like what can you I'm sure every day's different, but you said you kind of at first were like, okay, 9 a.m. school starts. And it sounds like maybe that's not how you do it now. Are you able to kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what a day looks like, a homeschool day looks like?
Oh, for sure. I've done so much trial and error, so I can certainly tell you what's worked for me. But for us, what has worked best is doing a routine, not a schedule. So it's kind of understood how our days will go. The girls sleep in. Now that they're staying up a little bit later, they're sleeping in to like 8:15. We have a very relaxed start to the day. They come down, we do breakfast. So really between 8:15 and 9 o'clock, we're eating breakfast. I do a lot of our read alouds at the breakfast table because they're slow eaters. So I'll read some of our read aloud, and it's a very relaxed start into the day. And then we kind of get the day going probably around 9:15. But again, there's no strict time. It's just get up, get dressed, come down, and we're going to start getting into language arts and math and things, all of our schoolwork for the day. Typically, that takes us through lunch. We've been doing history at lunch because I love teaching them while we eat because I have a captive audience. And so our day kind of goes from about 9 o'clock, and we're usually done with the core schoolwork by about 12:30 or 1. And that's with a very relaxed schedule. We do math, then we go for a walk, and then we do language arts. And it's a nice flow to our mornings. So that's typically our school day.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that you teach them while you're eating. Like, why haven't we realized that?
Yes. That's probably one of my best tips. We'll even do stuff at the dinner table sometimes, but my kids are just such slow eaters. And so I've got 45 minutes of time that I have a captive audience. So doing history, or especially we like history, but like a subject they're not as wild about, like math, we'll practice math facts or spelling words at the dinner table. And that counts. And I think that's something I realized after homeschooling a few years as well, is that it doesn't have to be at the table with the workbook in front of you to count as learning and schooling. And I totally write that down and count it as part of our day.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that makes me feel better because I feel like if I don't have the workbook though, like my daughter will do kindergarten next year. And so I feel like every day I'm thinking that I'm failing if I don't follow this curriculum in a workbook. And I have to remind myself, well, if we go on a walk and I teach her about a bird, that's learning.
Yes. And that honestly is the kind of learning I feel like even sinks in and resonates and sticks with them more than what I try and shove in their heads out of a workbook. So we've kind of gotten a decent balance of that right now, of like book learning versus following what their interests are. And one thing that's really helped me, I just come across this concept, such a basic concept, but I just found it this year and it's made the biggest difference. I think it's coined like planning in reverse, or I don't know, homeschooling in reverse is what I've heard. But basically, I used to write a whole plan for the week of the lessons that we would do and everything we need to accomplish each day. And I check them off as we did it. But inevitably some things would not be checked off at the end of the day because life happens. And I always felt like I was failing or falling short. So what I've done instead is I have pretty open and go curriculum, so I know what the next lesson is going to be. And I write things down as we do them and not what we're going to do. And that's helped me look for other opportunities that we're learning that I might not have seen before. Like you just mentioned, going on a walk and they see a bird or a caterpillar or a fun flower and they want to learn more about it. So you bring it home and you dive into it and you research it and you find out what it is. That's a whole science lesson. And it's something that I never would have given us credit for in the past. But now I go and I write that down and I can see how much more learning is taking place naturally versus just what's out of our workbook.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What a fantastic approach.
Yeah.
I'm just like a little overwhelmed trying to figure out how I would do this. I'm so impressed right now. I'm like, I don't know. That sounds really hard though. Like, and you're so calm about it. You're making it sound easy. And then I think, how would I do that? I don't know.
I'm several years in, and I will tell you, experience is the best thing because I was such a nervous Nelly too. And I still have moments of, when I talk to my friends that are in public schools, private schools, and I'm like, well, what are y'all doing in math right now? Just to compare. And it's hard to let go of that comparison, but once you get into it, it would ease your nerves. Is it something that you do have interest in? Do you think you might go that route?
I've never thought about it until now, to be honest. I've never thought about it, but I've been like, oh, should we do a little something this year, or especially next year? I don't know where we'll be at, but we're kind of staying out of daycare during COVID. And so I'm like, this sounds like I should be able to do it. At least for right now.
I understand. I have friends that are like, you're crazy and it's not for me. And I totally understand it's not for everyone. But for anyone that's interested, and the only barrier is truly like, oh my gosh, I just don't think I could do it. Those are the people I'm like, you totally could. You're already doing it and you don't realize it. And so just starting with one little thing, like, pick a gentle math curriculum and start there. And then as you get comfortable, you add in more. But it's not nearly as intimidating once you get rolling as it seems at first. So I just want to encourage any moms out there that might be thinking of that route. If your only fear is, oh my gosh, I don't think I have it in me, you already do. And you're already doing it. It's definitely a natural extension of parenting.
I'm sure that's why a lot of people choose not to. I mean, that's why I would never have considered it. Like, I don't think I can teach those things.
I mean, I'm only doing the preschool stuff, like I said, because my daughter will do kindergarten next year. And every time I think about starting, like, I just bought all these things. And I'm like, okay, well, we will start it next week, I guess, or tomorrow. Because honestly, for me, I don't know how to get my daughter to listen to me and focus the way that she did with her teachers. She just doesn't. And I think it's because I changed my whole demeanor. I'm like, well, we're strict now. And like, I am the teacher now, and we're going to learn, and we're going to sit here at the table. So I think it's exactly what you said. I feel more disciplinarian than I typically would. So it is a fearful thing.
It definitely is. And I think what I've learned, especially even Haley's in 3rd grade now, and even she still learns best through play. Like, I've become such a believer in the learning through play and the hands-on curriculum, especially for the younger years. It just makes such a difference, and it doesn't feel as disciplinarian, sit down, we're doing this. I mean, we have those moments where, sit your bottom down, we're working on that. But for the most part, I think there's so many beautiful curriculums now that do learn through play. So it's almost like it's just intentional playing with them and you're sneaking in the learning.
They don't even know. Yeah. Where do you get your curriculums from? Like, where do you build yours off of?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I piece ours together. So there's some great options where it's like all in one. You can buy, they'll send you math, language arts, history, science in one box. I really like piecing ours together because I've found we've done a lot of trial and error with math, and both my girls learn very differently through math. And so I've been able to see different techniques that work best for them. So I find, the math curriculum kind of fits best for them with that. And then we like pretty curriculum. It sounds so silly. For language arts, like, they're just more engaged when there's beautiful pictures and things like that. So we've found the good and the beautiful, which we love. And then history, we love reading books. And so a literary-based program, we use Beautiful Feet. That works great for us for that. So I just like being able to pick and choose what fits our learning style the best. But there's definitely easier options. Again, if you're intimidated at first, it's just like buy the curriculum in a box and get started. And then pretty quickly, as you talk to other homeschooling moms, you start to hear things that might spark their interest a little bit more.
Wow. I'm
You
so
could
impressed.
you could also totally homeschool with a library card and a Pinterest account. Like you really could, if you found interest-led learning, like what your child's into, reading books on it, and Pinterest has everything. So it can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be.
Well, that's a good reminder too, that it doesn't have to come in a box. Like you could start with some printouts or something from Pinterest and build your way up to a more regimented thing. That makes it feel
Absolutely.
much more approachable.
Yeah, in kindergarten we did several unit studies. I'd be like, September, we're learning about apples. And so I picked up apple books and apple crafts and apple science experiments and things like that. And there we go. There's our whole September curriculum. So it can be a lot of fun too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys, maybe it's different right now, or I'm not sure, but do you guys have other homeschool families that you get together with?
I do have a few good friends at homeschool, and we do like a monthly poetry tea time, which is a brave writer concept from like my homeschool guru, Julie Bogart. So we do that. It's poetry memorization, and the girls all say their poem, and that's a lot of fun. Last year we were in a co-op, and that was a very positive experience for us. This year we did not join the co-op because we thought we'd be doing more traveling. We thought 2020 would look a little bit different than it did. So we are just at home doing us now, but we do have friends that we get together with fairly often to go meet at parks and play around and go to the historical areas around here and things like that.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
It
It helps
helps.
to have someone else that you can sort of make it more like like you said, like a school.
Yeah.
That's very neat.
Yes.
Do you have a certain, do you think you'll do this through high school for them, or is there a goal? Is it we reevaluate every year? What does that look like for you guys?
Exactly what you just said. We reevaluate every year. I think, right now I can keep up with the math concepts, kind of. I'm learning a lot through teaching my third grader.
I bet.
So I'm never going to be teaching physics. That's just not my thing. But what I'm learning is as they get older, there's so many resources now. It's so different from homeschooling. Not that I was doing it 50 years ago, but the amount of access we have to incredible teachers, tutors, online resources, it's mind blowing. So I kind of see it as tailoring their education, outsourcing what I need to, and doing what we can at home. So I think we have the possibility to go long term and give them a very good education, but I am not committed to more than third grade and first grade right now.
It's very good attitude.
Do the girls ever give opinions about it? Do they ever say that they want to explore going to a traditional school, or are they just sort of go with the flow?
They don't, and they have good friends that do. And I think that's a sensitive subject for me. I kept waiting for them to be like, I'm mad at you. I want to go to real school or something. And thank goodness that hasn't happened, because I don't know how my heart would handle that. But I even asked them the other day if they would like to try and find another group to join that we do weekly or things like that. And I don't know if they're trying to butter me up, but they both said, no, like we really love just being at home with you for the most part. And I mean, it warmed my heart. So again, as long as it's working for us, we'll keep doing it. And right now it seems to be working. The only thing I think they feel they miss out on, they really want to ride a school bus. They really want a bus. So I have to find a time that they can go ride a school bus, because that's the only thing they ever say that they really want to do.
That's
funny.
But I could see that, because my son says that now. He'll see a bus. He's like, Mommy, someday I get to ride a bus. Like, it just must be a thing that I never said that to him, I don't think. I don't know.
That's so funny. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from either, but it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, think of all the memories you're making with them, because you have all this concentrated time with them. That's just really cool.
It's one of the best things to me, the quality time, the quantity of time too, and just being together and making those memories, because it goes by so fast. As you guys know, it's crazy how quickly they grow and how quickly they change.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think so. we could talk about this forever because
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, you're so calm about it. You seem like, I mean, I bet you're like just such an awesome homeschool mom to these kiddos. Sounds like you're really taking their needs into account. I think there's a lot of people doing hybrid or full. I know several people who chose like, school's all over the place. I'm just going to homeschool this year. Do you have any tips for what's worked really well for you guys, for those families who are just thrown in, maybe even with a third grader?
Well, so it's hard because this year, it's so crazy. Everyone's doing a different educational option. I have friends that are on every level of it from, we're sending them full time to school in a private school to hybrid models. In the virtual schooling, I mean, first of all, high fives to all moms right now. Everyone is
Mhm.
rocking it. We're all making it up as we go. And it's been so inspiring to me to see how my friends are handling all these different situations. Virtual schooling or the hybrid model, I don't have a ton of advice for because I think that looks so hard to me. Homeschooling, one of the best benefits of it is it's all on our schedule and there's not a lot of screen time involved with it. So I don't have to get them to focus on a screen. So the moms that are doing that battle right now, like hats off to you, you're rocking it. I have no advice for that. But the new homeschoolers, I recommend the book The Brave Learner by Julie Bogart. When I read it, it just brings so much calm and peace to the idea of homeschooling. You see that the home is the most important part of the whole experience. Your children are going to learn, they're built to be learners, and it's about fostering that love of learning and that natural curiosity more than it is like shoving facts down their face and making sure that they can regurgitate them. So I just think taking a deep breath, focusing on the family unit and making the most of that positive experience, reading a lot of books, and then from there, adding things as you all feel comfortable.
Oh, I love that. You're making
Yeah.
me feel like, okay, I need to fix how I'm
Yeah.
doing things at home a little bit.
Right, especially making them love learning
Hmm.
because I think, like I mentioned, my daughter really disliked when I would make her sit down and and it would make us contentious, and she didn't enjoy it. But when we're out and about, it's so much more fun. So I see that ringing so true. Like that's
Yes, there's a wonderful concept. It's not mine, and I forget where I read it from, but it was that let me see if I get this right. Anything can be, or everything can be taught through anything. And what that means is like whatever they're interested in, if that is bugs, if that is unicorns, whatever it is, you can find a way to take that subject and find a mathematical, learning within that. Unicorns, great. We're going to count, this is a terrible example, bugs. We're going to count how many bugs we can do. And if I had 45 ladybugs and that, you can find their topic of interest and teach them language arts, math, history, science, all through their interests. And I think that's just, we don't do that very well all the time, but whenever things feel too stressful, I go back to that concept and it's amazing to watch their curiosity burst open and they learn so much better and retain so much better when it's something they're interested in. So my personal goal is to just make them lifelong learners. None of us are ever going to know everything. And so I just want them to be curious and be problem solvers, and I'll be happy with that.
Yeah,
that's so great.
I love it. I'm trying not to interrupt you, but
I
that
know.
was beautiful.
That is really
Hmm.
beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing all your advice because I
Yes.
feel like so many people, like you said, are thrown into a whole different way of
Mhm.
learning or teaching their kids this year. And yeah, like you said, we're all doing great. We're all doing the best we can,
Mhm.
and yeah, we'll all get through it.
Yeah.
We are. Moms are awesome. I mean, not only doing the teaching, but then the housekeeping and the cooking. And I know partnerships, everyone's helping in with marriages and stuff, but a lot of it we at least put on our shoulders if nobody else does. And it's a tough year. So I just want to like, I'm such a rainbows and butterflies person. I'm like, I want to go hug every mom out there and be like, you're already doing a great job. Like, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yes, everyone needs to hear that, and it's so funny
Yeah.
because I think that about all of my friends, and then in myself, I'm like, "Oh, you're doing the worst. Like, could you do better?" And it's like, "No, we're all doing the best we can right now."
I know, and don't we all do that? We're all our own worst critic. But if we start talking to ourselves like we do our friends, man, we'd be a lot more relaxed.
Yeah, we would.
We'd all be so much happier too.
Yes.
Yes.
For
Oh, it's
sure.
true. I keep thinking of the pivot from Friends with Ross, that like picture of him with the couch. And that's like
Yes.
every time something changes this year, I'm like, I just have Ross's voice in my head. I'm like, pivot.
That's so good. That could be the meme of 2020.
Yeah, because it is. It's like, okay, that's not going to work now. All right, new plan.
I have not
Absolutely.
connected those two, but I'm loving the analogy.
Oh, I think it all the time. I'm like, all right, so this fire is occurring now, like maybe literally,
Yeah.
and that's much harder. But yeah.
Spot on.
I realize we just jumped into homeschool, so I forgot one of the biggest questions that we like to ask people are if you're comfortable talking about when you and your husband knew that you were ready to start building your family and what that looked like, if you knew you wanted kids or you didn't know ahead of time, so sort of your background on starting your family.
When we got married, we both know we wanted kids, but it was kind of a vague, yes, we want kids. We never really talked a lot about how many or when or anything like that. I think we were a year into marriage and I started getting the itch. I was like, oh, okay, I could have a baby. This would be fun. And we went on a big trip to Germany that year. We went to Oktoberfest in Germany and came back and had such a fun time and decided, we're going to wait one more year because we want to do some big traveling. That was so great. And then I found out I was pregnant. So it was like right after we decided we were going to wait another year, I got pregnant with Haley. And I said, okay, well, there's our sign. I guess we're starting the family now.
Oh, funny. If that isn't the universe saying, nope.
Yeah. But we were thrilled. And I think we knew we wanted to have them somewhat close together just because we really want to be able to travel as a family. And that was one of our big reasons for stopping at 2 kids as well. We were super blessed. We have our 2 healthy, beautiful girls. And one side of me, I felt like could have had 400 kids. Like I love kids. I could be in the middle of a farm somewhere and love that. But we really want to do some travel and have a lot of family experiences. And so we decided 4 family members total, 2 kids was a good spot for us.
Awesome.
Totally. The price of those airline tickets alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Have you traveled much with them so far?
I feel like we've just gotten into it. Last year was our first, I feel like, real kickoff. We took them down to the British Virgin Islands and did a week on a catamaran doing bareboat, and that was amazing. Like we all loved it. I wasn't sure how they would be on it, but it was great. So that we also took them snow skiing out west, and that was fun too. And it really lit the fire. Like, yes, this is what we want to do. We want to be traveling with them. And we took them to Disney and then COVID hit. So
those sound like really good trips.
Yes, we are super fortunate that we got those in. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, that's awesome. I always wonder that because my kids feel a little, I have a 3 and a 1-year-old. Like it's just not, how fun would a huge trip be?
Nope.
It wouldn't.
It certainly wouldn't be a vacation at these ages.
No.
It'd be parenting in a different location.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, does it feel for you now like a vacation?
Yeah.
We're getting there. I feel like 4 is the age that I say the switch flipped for us. Like you just start, you're out of diapers. They can sit at a restaurant and eat pretty well, and it just opens up a whole new world of opportunities. So while there's still kids and they're crazy sometimes and they have their meltdowns, I do feel like it is more enjoyable for all of us now than those early years. It's just hard. It just is. And, we did trips then too. And it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. The easiest trip was when my son wasn't 1 yet and it was just him. And like we went to the beach and I was like, that was fun. Mm-hmm. But now we have 2. It just sounds like a lot to pack.
It is so much stuff.
Way too much.
Small trips, right? We've done them, but they're worth it when you do it. I think it's just so exhausting. Anyway.
Well, I think somebody told me too when they were that little, you pick out the moments that are worth it during the trip. Like it's going to be a challenge. You're going to pack a ton of stuff. There's going to be meltdowns. But you get those, handful of moments you're like, oh, but what a special memory. And you've got to hold on to those because everything else will drive you crazy.
That's really true. And if you just remember that part.
Snap that picture.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually really good advice.
Yeah, because it's not all going to be pretty.
No.
Yeah. So one thing that I remember seeing on your blog more than once is the state of the family that you and your husband do.
Yes.
Can you tell people what that is and how it came to be? And yours seems much more expanded than like my husband and I conversation passing on the way to the bathroom, like, oh, we should do this. So how did you develop it and what's the goal of it? All the good stuff.
So it started, and David coined the term the state of the family when he was trying to get me on board with this a decade ago. And it really is just the basic thing of we wanted to be on the same page with our finances. He was kind of the head of the finances. Like he did the investing and all of that stuff, but he really wanted me to be involved in it and understand at the very least where our money is, what we're doing with it. So it was just a desire to know our finances better, be on the same page, set family goals, and work towards them. Because when we have a clear vision of what we're working towards, it's a lot easier to stay on the budget or do whatever because we know we're working towards this bigger thing. So it started, again, 10 years ago, with just say, hey, let's sit down, comb through all of our accounts, see where we are financially, and talk about where we want to go. And as the years went by, we just kind of kept adding and expanding on that. He started tracking trends of this is where we were last year with retirement. This is where we were this year. If we stay on track and put this much in over this many years, this is what we'll have. And so I talked about it so much because it's such a fun thing for us to do. Like we're really empowered. We usually do it around New Year, as like the fresh start of a new year. And then another time, probably in the summer, typically is when we do the second one, kind of a check-in. How are we doing? And it was so empowering and exciting for us that David really decided to take all of his Excel sheets that he works on and try and create a product that I could pass on. Because people were asking me, what is it? What does it look like? What are you actually looking into account-wise and everything? And I wanted to share that. So we put together a product that's full of our Excel sheets, a walkthrough of how we goal plan and things like that to offer to anyone else that may be interested in doing something similar with their own family. Well, that's a lot of words.
Awesome. Is he a finance guy for work?
Not for work. It's just Excel sheets are his love language. He enjoys them. He makes an Excel sheet for anything he can make an Excel sheet for. And I find them fascinating because that's not my God-given gift, finances and Excel sheets. But I found it fascinating because I was able to fully understand where all of our money was, how it grows, what we're invested in. We've got rental properties, in the market, retirement, and all those things now make sense to me. So I'm really appreciative of his teaching me of that. And it was empowering for me. So I just think it's really important for couples to be on the same page and both have a full understanding of it. So one's not, blowing money at Target while the other's trying to scour away for retirement. Just get aligned and focus in on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you purchase this on your blog?
Yes, you can. I'll give you the link. But yes, it is available for purchase. We have a Facebook group that goes along with it. We were super active in it before COVID hit. We were doing weekly topics on live, going into things people were asking about, rental properties, saving for retirement. I know I'm saying the same things over and over, but any financial topic, we got on there, not as financial coaches of telling anyone what to do, but being open about what we do and what's worked for us, because I feel like finances are such a touchy subject that people don't talk very openly about them. And what I've learned the most from is from close friends that are willing to open up and discuss. And so we wanted to create that kind of online community. And we have that Facebook page up and open and want to get into doing the weekly videos, live videos again. But we're always there to answer any questions or bat around different ideas, especially as the financial craziness of this year, the housing market doing great, but uncertainty in other markets, just a place to discuss that, which is kind of outside my typical blog topics.
That's awesome.
Yeah, especially because, like you said, you have to be on the same page, and people don't talk about money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't would. It's one of the leading causes of divorce, as you always read, but nobody talks about how they make it work and the things that they do, especially in terms of, I think, like you said, having that shared goal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, my husband and I, like I said, we've loosely talked about it, but I don't know that we've ever sat down and been like, this is what we want to do. This is what we're working towards. And how great would that be if we were?
Yes, I think it just makes such a big, and it's exciting because you can kind of, you can't plan your life out because the crazy things happen, but it's fun to picture, and hear their answer versus your answer. What do you want our life to look like in 5 years? Or in 15 years, our kids are going to be this old. Where are we going to be doing? And it just leads to great conversations. We pour a glass of wine. It's a at-home date night for us. It's always a ton of fun.
Oh, that's
really,
awesome.
yeah, it's just a really cool thing. I'm so glad you guys did that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, we've bounced around because this has been such a great conversation.
I know, it's fun to chat with you guys. We could keep talking all day. We won't, but I feel like I could.
I know. I feel like we started this during COVID. We needed something. And I don't know if that contributes to how awesome it is to be. I'm like, oh, hey, what are we going to talk about?
Right.
But it's so fun.
But we take so much away from it. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Oh, something I did want to ask. You had mentioned that you're a health coach and that your kids are like eating slow. And I know your Instagram is about your meal plan and prep. Any tips for like healthy meals or healthy snacks for your kiddos, especially when you're home all day? Because that has been a downfall.
Let's see. I feel like I write about this all the time. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm trying to just pull out the few that I think have helped us the most. Really, I think limiting snacking for my kids. Everyone's family is different, but for my kids, hunger is a good thing, and they're going to take to dinner and eat a lot more dinner if we're not snacking during the afternoon. Even if it's healthy snacks, I just find with mine, we eat lunch, and letting them be hungry and ask when dinner is great, because then they come and they eat so much more of stuff that they might have been more particular about had they not been hungry. And another great tip that I love, if you want them to eat more vegetables while you're cooking dinner, put out like an appetizer tray of cut veggies. We do like black olives, carrot sticks, red pepper sticks, kind of just the basic ones that you'd expect. But they will devour them just because they're hungry and it feels like fancy, like an appetizer plate. We call it that too because Caitlin likes everything fancy. But they think that's so much more fun than having carrot sticks thrown on their dinner plate. So that helps us, curbing snacking, putting out veggies first, and then not buying the junk. I mean, I feel like that's an age-old trick. But I mean, I'll buy fun stuff. We went to Trader Joe's last week, and I got some fun seasonal pumpkin cookies and things like that to have around. But for the most part, if it's not in the house, we don't eat it. They don't ask for it. So that's an easy one to stick with.
Those are super helpful. Did you, with the snacking, did your kids previously snack before that, and then was there an adjustment, or has that always been something you've done?
I don't think it was ever super intentional in the beginning. Like when they were toddlers and things like that, I feel like if they were hungry, I'd give them a snack. I didn't have a really strict policy on it. And really, so my firstborn, Haley, is an eater like me. She's adventurous. She's got a great palate. She wants to try everything. She's so much fun to eat with. And, so I was like high-fiving myself, being like, see what a good job I did. And then came Caitlin to humble me with everything. And so she is a lot more particular. So I feel like with her eating, I had to put more focus into how are we going to work this to make sure she's eating the foods that I want her to be eating. And that's when I probably got more focused in on, okay, we need to cut snacks because they just weren't doing us any good. And now if they have a soccer practice and they need a snack, of course I'll give them a snack before soccer practice and things like that. But for the most part, I have found sticking to 3 meals a day leads to a lot better eating for us.
Yeah. And especially if they're slow eaters, maybe they're like actually eating good amounts at those meals based on how you've kind of structured it.
Yes. And I do, like, I'm a one dinner mom. Like, I make one dinner and that's what we all eat. And it's just always been that way. My mom was that way. So that's just how I grew up. But I also, with that, I always make sure there's something on their plate that they like. So especially if I'm trying something new that I know is iffy, that's such an easy way to throw on like a fruit and some simple cut veggies that I know there's something healthy that they're going to enjoy on the plate to kind of ease the blow of whatever crazy creation I've come up with.
Do you have any, this is really a selfish question because I'm on a little bit of a struggle bus with breakfast lately. Like my son gets up so much earlier than my daughter and that's when I get some work time in. And so breakfast is like basically been a granola bar for him right now. Like, do you have any go-tos for breakfast?
I do. Now it's tough. What time does he wake up?
He gets up at like 6. It's not horrible, but that's like when I get up to get stuff done.
Yeah, no, this is mommy's time.
Yeah.
Is he hungry when he first gets up? Is he
Oh
wake?
yeah. He's like,
Okay.
Mommy, it's time for my snack. He calls breakfast a snack.
Yeah.
He really eats 2 breakfasts because then my daughter gets up at like 8 or 8:30 and she eats, so he eats again.
And he's ready for his next meal. That makes total sense.
Yeah, he's been up for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing great with the granola bar. For us, our go-tos, both my kids, even Caitlin, who's more particular with her eating, love avocado toast, but that's not really a quick grab and go item. So we typically do fruit, and having berries ready to go is always a good one. I'm in a slightly different situation because both mine wake up similar at the same time. So we do a lot of fruit and avocado toast. They now can make eggs on their own, so we'll do eggs sometime. But maybe just it sounds like you're doing a good job. I don't really have anything.
I love the idea of avocado. I feed that to myself. I have never offered it to my children, which is a great idea. It's like such a healthy. I give them avocado, but I've never put it on bread.
Yeah, mine love it, and it's delicious.
Yes.
And especially, you can always call it one of the best things. I remember someone telling me when my kids were like toddler age was just giving it the fun name, like whatever they're into. It's like with Halloween coming up, it could be like we were having Frankenstein toast for breakfast. It sounds so cheesy, but I remember using that and they thought it was like the coolest thing. And I'm like, oh wow, it works. That's what people say.
That's a great idea.
Yes, I can totally see that. I'm trying. I think we have an avocado at home.
Yeah,
we do.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you have, that last tip you just gave was amazing, but do you have any favorite parenting tip that you were given that has sort of been really instrumental for you?
I've been given so many good advice over the years. I feel like one that sticks out in my mind that I've really started to see the fruits of is fighting the battles early on and sticking to your guns early on when it's really hard pays off in the long term. And again, it's hard because, so like one of the things that we are rather strict about is screen time. And when they're young, it's so easy just to be like, you know what, throw on a TV show, then I can breathe for a second. And we absolutely did our fair share of that. But staying strict on those kind of things, what you believe, like going out to dinner, we're like, no, you're not going to have your phone in front of, or our phone in front of you, or an iPad. I want you to learn how to do this. And it's hard. It was a lot of like, okay, well then I'll go walk around the restaurant with you or bounce you. And those years are so hard, but I feel like if you stick to those values and priorities that you have, they really pay off as the kids get older, and you don't have to fight that battle later. And we're just starting to see the fruits of that now with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. They're pretty much, for the most part, polite. They can go out to dinner and they're very happy without asking for any kind of screen. They travel well. And I just think it was so much of us fighting those hard battles early on. And I'm always so hesitant to say stuff like that because I understand the long days are hard when they're little. And hey, some days do what you got to do. But for the most part, if you stick to that, if you're sticking to the bedtime, sticking to all of those, you will reap the reward down the road.
So true. I think that because, well, we're in horrible habits right now. Let's be real. COVID, my husband was gone for parts of it. Screen time got out of control. But as I've tried to get it back into control, I keep telling myself, this is easier when you have a 3-year-old than when you have a 10-year-old. So
yes.
you got to do it. I'm not saying I'm against screen time. And if you're working and you have kids at home right now, you just got to survive.
Yep, do what you do.
And so no judgment, but I tell myself that, and that's so good to hear from someone who is starting to see like, yeah,
It works.
it's paid off.
Yes. And I mean, I'm totally on the no judgment train too.
Yeah.
Like some seasons you got to do whatever you got to do. And that was one of the nicest things when I had my second that my best friend told me. She was like, girl, just make the TV your babysitter right now. Like you are in survival mode. And on survival modes, absolutely do what you got to do. We really cut back on TV when Haley was 3 because of attitude. I started realizing when she watched TV, she'd be so grumpy when we turned it off, and the tantrums were out of control. And so we went cold turkey, I think, for a week just to get it out of our system. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a different child. So that's really what sparked our cut down on that. Now, I will tell you, they love screen time now. They earn screen time tokens, and then they can use them at their disposal. And that's worked well for us. It's kind of given them the freedom to pick what they want, but with limitations. And so, but I totally agree with you. No judgment on this. Mamas, do what you got to do.
Yeah. Did you think of any fun kid stories? That's been a hard question for people.
It's funny because this just happened this past weekend. It's an example of distracted parenting, but it was a beautiful fall Sunday morning. And so David and I are on the porch drinking coffee, chatting with each other, catching up. He's been working a lot. And the girls run out and they say, can we make hot chocolate? I'm going to be fun, Mom. So I'm like, you go for it, girls. Go make some hot chocolate. And they stick their head out a minute later and they say, can we make it fancy? And I'm like, I don't care what you do. I'm not good enough. I'm talking with Daddy. Just let us be out here and talk. And so I didn't even pay attention to what they were doing. And they come out about 10 minutes later with these cups. I imagine there was hot chocolate at the bottom of it, but it was so covered with whipped cream, Pop Rocks, gummy worms, marshmallows, chocolate chips, anything out of our baking basket and fun basket that they could find. And I just died laughing because the look of pride on their face, and I had technically agreed to it, but I mean, I just thought it was the funniest thing. And they were so proud of themselves and so excited for their sugar bomb that they had created.
Did they taste good?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It couldn't have, right? But they were just so proud. And they did eat and drink the whole thing. So thank goodness it was a pretty day because I was like, you get outside and run that off.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's so funny. I feel like you think you know what that means, or like, you're right. You're like, you're distracted. You're like, sure.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever. Just give me a minute to sip my coffee, So it was funny.
And then those hot chocolates. That's cracking me up.
Yeah, I just can't imagine the Pop Rocks in it. That's what's getting me. Didn't it explode or?
I know. We don't usually have that sitting around, but we had a Halloween jar full of fun stuff, and they found it. They dug into it.
I love that. It's very creative.
It's right. Points for creativity, right?
And then we like to do a little shout out to another mom that inspires you, maybe on social media or in your life. Anyone that you want to talk about?
I hope this isn't a cop-out answer, but my number one mom inspiration is my mom.
It's not a cop-out.
I just feel like anything that I do is because she did it first. Like I learned from her. She and my dad are the ultimate, I think they parented so well. And my mom certainly headed that up with everything she did. And so I'm just so grateful for her for showing me the way. And now I get to do that in my own house. And then all my friends inspire me in different ways. Every mom has just the thing that they're really good at. And I'm not a crafty mom. And so the moms out there that are doing these beautiful crafts with their kids, like they inspire me. And just seeing where everybody shines, because everybody has something that's their special thing. And whatever that is, when I see it in somebody, it inspires me to bring that part out in myself.
Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, Brittany, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram or your blog?
Yeah, so the blog is the heart and soul of what I do and what I've done for over 10 years, and that's just ahealthysliceoflife.com. I post 3 times a week: food, family, travel, just life stuff, what's going on in life. And then if I'm not on there, I'm always on Instagram. And my handle on there is @ahealthyslice. And I feel like I love my community there. Got so many, Haley calls them my friends and my phone. But those are the two places online that I'm the most. So on the blog and Instagram.
Oh, love that. Well, thank you
Yes,
so
thank
much.
you.
Yeah, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel ready to like tackle my homeschool and my parenting approach. This has just been so awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love chatting with you guys. You're wonderful. Wish we could get together and have coffee weekly.
I know. Everyone we talk to, I'm like, oh, I just want to,
Yeah, can we be your friend in
yeah,
real
be
life?
my friend. But for really, it's so inspiring, and it's fun to talk to someone whose kids are just a little bit older now.
Yeah.
A little down the road.
Yeah.
It gets easier.
Yeah.
Or different challenges, but the physically demanding part gets easier.
Thank you. That's helpful.
That's what
to
I need
hear.
to hear.
Well, good luck with everything. It was so nice to chat with you.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, y'all too.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed hearing us chat with Brittany. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would leave us a rating and review. Remember, you can find us at momandpodcast.com, at Mom and Podcast on Instagram, and check out our new Facebook group, Mom and Podcast. And remember to subscribe so you always get updated when there's new episodes. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. Bye.